The next very important topic is the vector, and this is the most basic unit of storing data in R. And a vector is basically a combination of objects. We have studied objects in detail. We have studied logical vector, character vector, numeric vector. So it's a combination of vectors. And we have studied the data frame, or we have studied the data matrix. If you remember, we have columns and we have rows. Now each column represent basically a vector. This is the vector. This is the character vector. This is the numeric vector. So, this is the product ID, and we're going to study, in detail where should we consider the ID variable, whether they should be character or they should be, numeric. We're going to study that in coming lectures. So the vector can be numeric, vector can be character, logical, or vector. We have studied all of these in the previous lecture. You can go and watch my previous lecture to understand this concept. We have learned creating objects in R. Now the question is, how can we convert those objects into a vector? How can we create a vector? The most common function that is used for creating a vector is called concatenate, and this is the function that is most often used in programming language. And those people who have some previous experience of the spreadsheets in Excel might have encountered this function in Excel as well. So it is represented by C. Now suppose you are interested in creating a numeric vector. What you are going to do is that first you are going to give it a name. And we have studied the rules for creating or giving name to the objects in detail, giving name to the variable. There are three rules that we have studied in previous lecture on the in the video data types in R. You can watch them again to understand this concept, how to give a name to the vector, variable, or object. Then you're going to put a sign and then C. C represents the concatenate. Then you're going to write the first code and then comma, second code, and comma, and third code. It is going to create an object for you. Now, if you are interested in character objects, for that you will write the C and give it a name, but you will write the character objects in the inverted commas. So let us go to the R and practice it practically in R. Suppose I create an object, income of a country. This is a hypothetical example. Now I will just write the signs, and then I will write the C function, which is used for concatenate. Now I will just write 550, comma, 110, comma, and then 622. Now this is going to create an object. If I run it, it is going to create an object for me in the name of income. Now let us run this object, income. Now if I run it, it is going to give me the object with that values. Now in the next step, we are going to create a character vector. Suppose I just give it the name countries, and then I'm going to assign the values. And the first, I'm going to write Pakistan, then in the inverted commas. Remember, this time you're going to write it in the inverted commas. And then in the inverted commas, I write India, and then in the inverted commas, I write Ghana. So let me run this function. This has created a vector, and you can see it over here. You can see that we have countries, which is a character. CHR is a character, and you can see that there are three values, 1 to 3, and you can see that this income is a numeric object, and it has value 1 to 3, and the values are also showing. So this is the way you create vectors in R. The next very important topic is naming the vector. Suppose we are interested, we have created this numeric object, you want to give it a name. Suppose this is 550. What this value represents? 521. What is this value exactly? So this is the function names that is used to give names to the vector. Let us practice this practically now. We are going to write names. Then in the parentheses you would write income, because this is the variable which you want to give it a name. This is the benefit of RStudio, that if you have created an object, it will suggest you, it will make some suggestion in completing the code. So you will just click over here, then this symbol, and then you will give countries, names based on the countries. So let us run it. Now this time it has created names. Now if you write income and run it, you see that it has given names to those values that we have created. So this is the way you can give names to the vector. There are several ways to create vectors, and I'm going to discuss a few of them, and one very important among them is sequence. Now you can create numeric object through sequence. This is the function seq that is used for creating sequence, and you will give from 1 to 20. So let us go and practice this, and let us create a sequence in the name serial number. So I'm going to write this, and I'm going to write seq, and this time I'm going to write 1 to 20. Now I'm going to run it, and you see that it has added the vector into the environment. Now if I just run s.no and I run it, now you can see that it has created a vector of 20 numeric objects. Now you can see that there is a jump of 1 digit from 1 to 2 and 2 to 3. If you want to make some bigger jumps, what you can do is that I create another object, serial number 2, serial number 2, serial number 2, and this time I give it a jump of 3. I want the sequence 1 to 30 this time, and with the jump of 3, Now let us run this object. We have created this object. Let us run it. You can see this is 1, and there is this gap of 3, and then we have 4. So this is one way to create vector according to your own requirement. There is another way to create object through colon. Suppose we are interested in student ID, and I give it the sample, and this time I write 1:50. So if I run it, it is going to add this object to my environment, and this time if I print it, student ID, you can see it has created a vector of 50 IDs, 50 objects. So this is the way you can create vectors.